Hello my friend and welcome to another video. I get a lot of questions about mastering. How loud does the music needs to be in order to be accepted to music licensing? It depends on the genre. If you're making acoustic music and it's very quiet, very intimate, then you have to take in consideration the mastering and the levels. How hot can a music track be anyways, right? We've gone through all of this loudness wars over the years. I think streaming platforms and even here on YouTube, they have done their own limiting algorithm, or they will bring down the music if it just surpasses certain levels. My philosophy when it comes to levels, and if you want to know how loud your music should be, is number one, that sounds a little bit weird, but number one, you need to take in consideration the genre. If it's a jazz track or an ambient track, right? How loud it should be. A lot of people obsess about the numbers. It's not a one fits all. Okay, when mastering your track, it's not about reaching a certain level and make sure that it's hitting that. If you're making an electronic track, a dance track, EDM track, then yes, it has to be, like a slap in the face every time that kick drum is hitting. That's in terms of the levels in the mixing and in the production, but it has to be very hot. If it's a rock track, it's the same thing. It has to be slamming. It's not supposed to be clipping or a distorted signal when you're mastering it, but it certainly has to be very hot, and it has to be very punchy. However, other styles of music do not require to have this type of intensity in terms of levels and mastering your music at the same volume. You have to take in considerations the genre, you have to take in considerations the dynamic range, because you could kill all the dynamic range of your music track if you just want to make everything so loud. If you just whack a limiter in the master fader and just, you have gain reduction of 4 dBs or 5, you're going to kill a lot of the dynamics. And everything's going to sound the same, very flat. So even though this is not a video about mastering, I just want to talk about the mastering instead of showing you how to do the mastering, because it depends on the music track. And of course, I cover this in great detail in my courses and in my programs. A step-by-step process of like, hey, this is the level, this is what it reads on the fader, this is what I'm inserting, like what the EQ, the compressor, the limiter, and this is the final result. You can actually compare and see what it's doing. But nowadays, you just need to really play it by ear. I know this might sound a little bit weird, and I had a client once complaining about him taking a music production course at one point, and the teacher was telling him, or the coach was telling him, to play it by ear, and he was really wound up about it. And I tried to explain to him further what does that mean. And what it means is that you have to take in consideration that the most important tool that you have is your ears. And you can study all you want, you can read all you want, you can have all the blueprint of this is the right levels because this is what Spotify allows you to put your music as loud as that. But ultimately, it's about you. Do you hear your music right? Does it sound the way you want it to sound? Or you just want to make it as loud as possible just for the sake of being loud? That's an important question. Obviously, you want your music to be as loud as possible without clipping. I understand that. You don't want your music to be low in volume when somebody's scrolling in a library and they're hearing, for example, let's say that they have a corporate track that you have composed and your track is alongside other corporate music tracks. Then when they start hearing different tracks, then if they hear yours, if it's lower in volume, yeah, it's going to be perceived as weaker and not having the same impact, right? With music, it's very funny because we can hear something that is really low, but then if we hear something that is very loud, somehow our ears perceive that as being more exciting or more appealing for some crazy reason, right? The ear is a very funny thing. So I understand that philosophy, that it needs to be loud. And I want my music to be as loud as possible without killing the dynamic range and without, killing the transients, regardless of the genre. But when I'm working with a genre that's a little bit hotter, like rock, electronic music, then yeah, psychologically, I get more aware of how loud should it be. It has to be loud, really loud. But then there's only so much you can go. What I do in the limiter, in the fader, is that I bring it down to, I don't let it 0 dBs. I put 0, -0 and 1, roughly, just to have an insurance policy that it's not going to clip at the out of the signal, okay, like the final thing. So whatever happens, even if it's really, really hot, it's not reaching 0 ever. It's 0,1, okay? You can take it even to 2 if you wanted to, but 1 is enough, I think. That's just an insurance policy that whatever happens, any transients or any big spikes in the mix or the production, it won't clip for sure, because there's nothing worse than a clip or the distorted sound of a digital track, right? Like from a DAW. If you were working in analog, you actually want some type of saturation. Believe it or not, there are a few tracks on Audio Jungle and other libraries that they're being so mastered so loud that you can clearly hear the distortion, the clipping. Okay, I'm not gonna bring names here or anything, but it's just too much. You can understand it by just looking at the waveform. It just looks like a box. It's just like literally like from start to finish. It's just like this. There's no waveform anymore. So even before you press play, you can see like, okay, this is just gonna be ridiculous, man. So you have to practice and always be ensuring that your music is not clipping. So there are guidelines for this, obviously. There are steps that people make. I mean, Logic nowadays have a mastering plugin. This is something new that just came out with Logic a few months ago. I've tried it out. It's really good, actually. It's not bad. It's a good starting point if you are just have no idea where you're going with your music. Back in the day, I used to use Ozone for mastering. They had different presets, and you would just put a preset and then it will master your music. I mean, Ozone is great for that. But I've been using the Logic ones. I do my own mastering anyways. All you need really is an EQ, a compressor, and then a limiter. That's it. There's nothing else. Maybe a multi-band compressor if you wanted to get more fancy. A lot of people feel intimidated about a multi-band compressor in the mastering stage. But compressors and EQs are really going to give you the level, the volume. And then if you want the final lift, then the limiter is going to help you do that. But a lot of people just put the limiter without taking in consideration the EQ and the compressor. Compressors are just a key to just make your music sound big and loud. I might dive into mastering. Maybe if you guys want to see me master one of my tracks, maybe I could do that, have a session and then just master it, especially if it's going to be in different genres so you can see what I'm doing. Right? That would be interesting because if I'm mastering an acoustic track, that's completely different than a rock track for that matter, or an electronic track, because it has to be very hot. Anyways, guys, I hope this video finds you well. If you're new to this, download my free guide link in the description. And leave a comment below if you want me to cover anything here on the channel. I'm showing up every day. I'm doing more videos, long format videos, trying to share more of what I do on a day-to-day basis. I'm doing this every morning. It's become part of my routine. Back in the day, I was doing one video a week, but there's so many things that I want to share, and I want to do something different here on the channel and just have you here every single morning hanging out here with me, talking about different topics of music production, libraries, and obviously how to earn money with our music online. Thank you so much for the love and support, and I'll see you in another video, my friend.